Good evening from Gainesville, Florida. This is Andrew Manhan.
And I'm Jacob Wainwright, and this is NBC Nightly News. Tonight's top story, there's breaking news coming out of the country of Madagascar. After a failed escape from their enclosures, a group of New York Zoo city animals headed to a Kenyan wildlife preserve ended up stranded in Madagascar.
Wait, that doesn't sound right.
No, that actually doesn't at all.
Tonight's actual news is about the plague outbreak in the country of Madagascar. This occurred between August to November 2017. Let's go to our field correspondent, Alex, for more information about this outbreak.
Alex?
Thanks, guys. So far, there have been a total of 2,348 confirmed, probable, and suspected cases of plague. Of these cases, there have been 202 deaths. This brings the case fatality rate up to 8.6%. The majority of the cases that we have observed are pneumonic, which resulted in 22 confirmed, 34% probable, and 44% suspected. The bubonic plague follows closely behind with 341 cases. The disease has been detected in 48% of the country, including non-endemic areas and major cities. We have seen an increased risk in public health response to Madagascar recently. These include educating, raising awareness, rapid investigation, and treatment of new and existing cases. The outbreak has been mostly controlled, however, the situation is being closely monitored by public health officials. What seems like a roaring plague seems to have diminished to a dull growl. This is Alex reporting from Madagascar. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you for that information, Alex. That was a lot for our viewers to take in. Let's bring Dr. Marty Zebra, a specialist in infectious disease from the World Health Organization, to give us more background onto what the plague actually is.
Marty?
Well, thank you guys. I am Dr. Marty Zebra, and I've done extensive work in the field of the plague. The plague is caused by a gram-negative bacteria called Yersinia pestis. This bacteria is typically found in small mammals and their fleas, and it's typically the rodent flea that is where it's found. The plague is a vector-borne illness because it is typically transmitted to humans by the bite of this infected flea. Scientists believe that the plague bacteria circulates in low rates within these certain rodent populations without excessive rodent die-off. This low level of infection in these rodent populations and their fleas serve as a long-term reservoir in the plague bacteria. This is referred to as the enzootic cycle. There are 3 different clinical forms of plague. The most common is the bubonic plague. This clinical form usually occurs after the bite of an infected flea. Once the bacteria enters the body, it moves to the closest lymph node and begins to make copies of itself. The second most common form of plague is the pneumonic plague. This infection is a result of the inhalation of plague bacteria from infected respiratory droplets. If pneumonic plague is left untreated, it is always fatal. The least common clinical form of plague is septicemic plague. This occurs when the plague bacteria spreads through the bloodstream. Septicemic plague can be the result of a flea bite or a different clinical form of plague if left untreated. This does not present with the classic bubo. This is Dr. Marty Zebra, reporting from the World Health Organization. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Dr. Zebra. Now let's go to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia to hear from Dr. Melman about the disease symptoms and prevention methods.
Dr. Melman.
Thank you guys for having me tonight. I am Dr. Melman, and I have worked with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention for 20 years with Yersinia pestis. I understand that my friend and colleague, Dr. Zebra, gave a lot of background regarding the plague. So now I will discuss symptoms, treatments, and prevention so that you can stay away from the plague. Each of the 3 forms of plagues have different clinical symptoms. If you have the most serious form, pneumonic plague, you will usually have a latency period of 1 to 3 days, in which after you can experience symptoms such as fever, headache, weakness, and rapidly developing pneumonia with shortness of breath, chest pain, cough. This pneumonia can advance to respiratory failure or shock. This is the only form that can spread on a person-to-person basis. The second form is the bubonic plague, which has a latency period of 2 to 8 days. These symptoms can include sudden onset of fever, headache, chills, and one or more swollen, tender, and painful lymph nodes. These are known as buboes. This is from the infected flea bites that Dr. Zebra was explaining. If this is not treated, however, with antibiotics, as soon as possible, it will spread to other parts of your body very quickly. The last form is septicemic plague, which has a latency period of 1 to 4 days. These symptoms can include fever, chill, weakness, and possible bleeding into skin and other organs. This can cause skin and tissues to turn black and die most notably on fingers, toes, and nose. This can develop from untreated bubonic plague and result from biting of infected fleas or handling an infected animal. IV antibiotics must be administered immediately. These antibiotics can include streptomycin, gentamicin, doxycycline, or ciprofloxacin. Additionally, oxygen, IV fluids, and respiratory support are usually needed as well. As far as prevention is concerned, you need to make sure that your home and office are potentially rodent-proof. Wear gloves if handling potentially infected animals to prevent skin contact. Use repellent if you believe that you could be exposed to rodent fleas in outdoor activities such as hiking or camping. Keep fleas off pets by utilizing effective flea control medications. And do not allow your dogs or cats that are allowed to roam around outside of your house in your bed. Travel advice. Currently, the 3 most endemic countries are the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Madagascar, and Peru. If traveling to these countries, be vigilant of protecting yourself against flea bites and contact with dead animals, infected tissue, or materials, and avoid close contact with patients who have pneumonic plague. This is Dr. Melman Harafe. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Dr. Harafe, for that interesting and very useful information about the symptoms, treatment, and prevention of the plague. Now to our field reporter, Rico, who is going to give us a bit more information about plague in the United States of America.
Rico?
Alright. Each year in the United States, we have an average of 7 cases of plague each year. Over 80% of these cases have been the bubonic plague clinical manifestation. These cases are typically in rural western United States, and most cases occur in people ages 12 to 45 and those that typically work outside are at higher risk. This is field correspondent Rico reporting back to you guys in the station.
We hope that you guys have learned a lot about the plague and everything it entails. We have to continue to remain vigilant in America since we still experience some of these cases here.
Tune in next week to hear about the dengue fever. And from all of us here at Nightly News, I'm Jacob Wainwright.
And Andrew Manhan. Good night, America.